Hi, my name is Dr. Rob Ward, and I'd like to welcome you to another class of our video lecture series on redox chemistry as it applies to various challenges with our health and our bodies. So this lecture is going to focus on coronary artery disease and how our redox chemistry is involved with this. So coronary artery disease is another way of saying the disease of the vessels of the heart muscle. And our little heart muscle blood vessels are very susceptible to getting blocked up and stressed out related to their basic chemistry. So if you think about it, our heart muscle itself has tremendous demands for blood and oxygen. So these cells are pumping all the time, round the clock, doing an incredible amount of work, pumping blood to our whole body. So it's understandable that these cells require a lot of oxygen, a lot of nutrients. They burn a lot of fuel. They create a lot of waste. And therein lies the challenge. So the little blood vessels are special because they have to deliver the nutrients and oxygen into the muscle. And if they have trouble, that's going to affect the muscle. And the muscle itself is special. I mean, there are thousands of mitochondria in every single heart muscle cell. Some have as many as 5,000 per cell. It's amazing. Our bodies are amazing, let's face it. So let's talk for just a little bit about the anatomy of our coronary arteries and how this really works. Think of the beginnings of challenges to these little arteries as a breakdown in the lining first. So the lining of our coronary artery, this is a healthy coronary artery. There's the inside where the blood is traveling. It's red. We call it the lumen. There's the lining cells of the blood vessel itself. The inside liner is called the endothelium. And then there's the vessel wall. All right? And so these are real tiny, and they take and deliver. There's also tributary, arteries that go off of here, little arterioles and finally little capillaries. But this is where the action happens. This is where most of the nutrients are traveling down. If everything's wide open channel, we've got great circulation. Here's the problem. Sometimes the lining, the endothelium, develops inflammation, redness. Think of it as fire in the artery. That is the beginning of coronary artery disease. It's not cholesterol. Cholesterol comes along for the ride later on when the lining gets so damaged that calcium and cholesterol start to build up in the wall, just underneath the lining cells of the endothelium. And when that happens, it starts to narrow down the channel that blood can travel. That's what causes blockage. That's what leads to heart attacks, narrowing of the arteries, stenosis, and all those kinds of things. So what leads to the fire is really at the heart of how to help our bodies prevent and stay well with regard to heart disease. So what's the redox connection? I've outlined three main topics, okay? The first has to do with the oxidative stress that begins to unfold. So oxidative stress is basically a buildup of oxidants. Those are like toxins that happen as cells burn fuel, use oxygen, they give off waste. And if that waste is not removed from the cell properly, that buildup leads to stress. And the cell will not do its work as well. It's like it's in a poisoned environment, and it loses its power to pump. And in fact, it can lead to arrhythmias of the cell because heart cells have electrical activity. That's how they work. And they can't even fire off the electricity that makes them contract properly. So you can have arrhythmias just build up because of buildup of oxidants and toxins. If this goes uncorrected, it leads to scarring in the muscle, inflammation in the muscle cells, and in the muscle lining, the vessel lining cells. And that buildup of oxidants leads to inflammation. The immune system sees this and reacts to it, and it leads to, in essence, a swollen, red, raw lining of the artery. The second part of this has to do, in terms of stress, the connection of redox chemistry to our heart disease has to do with the way oxygen and cell nutrients move in and out of our cells. So if you can't, the way nutrients and oxygen get into a cell has to do with a little doorway in the cell wall. That doorway has little hinges, like a door, and those hinges are activated or lubricated by redox molecules. So the ability for us to help nutrients get in as well as waste to get out is all connected to redox chemistry. And so if we are able to manage or balance our oxidative stress, movements of nutrients and oxygen in can occur. The last piece of this oxidative stress connection to redox chemistry and heart disease has to do with free radical damage. So free radicals, for example, are a buildup of superoxide. Superoxides are oxygen species, two oxygen atoms together without any paired hydrogen atom or other atoms to go with it. And so they've got an extra charge, electrical charge, and they're going to go around and scavenge for electrons somewhere. And where are they going to look for it? If they're traveling around the circulation, bingo, right on the lining of the artery. And they'll take an electron right out of a cell and lead it to damage that leads to that inflammation. So if we have superoxides, free radicals, traveling around in our circulation, we got a problem. So how do we neutralize these things? Number one, what would happen? It would be great if we could supplement our bodies with redox molecules in a balanced formulation. And if we did so, supplementing here, we would see a reduction in oxidative stress. These oxidants would not build up. It would not lead to scarring. If we had the ability to supplement our body with redox molecules, which we do, we could see a better movement of oxygen and nutrients into a cell to aid that cell with the energy it needs to pump the blood through the body. And lastly, if we supplement redox molecules in a balanced formulation, we can provide for an opportunity for antioxidants to neutralize the free radicals that are going around causing havoc in our circulation in the lining of the arteries. So in all three places, when we can provide a balanced resource of these molecules, it just takes the stress off of our body's native ability to match these challenges. And sometimes as we age, sometimes as we experience stresses in our health, we don't produce these molecules in a balanced formulation. And it's really wonderful to supplement them. So even where this pertains to coronary artery disease, the #1 killer of Americans, if we take the time to try to maintain a balance in our redox potential, we'll see an improvement in prevention of the breakdown of the lining and the health and metabolism of our cells in our heart. So that's the beauty of redox chemistry, right down to the most important common denominator and the most important part of our body, our heart. We see benefits. Thank you very much for your attention.